this is the tale. This is the tale of how Keldrin, the most wondrous, gorgeous, handsomest, most talented, amazing, bestest fisherman, caught the one and only tide spinner. Might not be one and only, but only one to ever catch one, So we're on the docks of Arlonge. On the docks of Arlonge. And Keldrin's like, well, I gotta go make money because I got caught for stealing again. And just got out of prison. So he leaves. He goes on his little boat and he's fishing. He's fishing all by himself. He's so lonely because Stark was busy. He said, no, I'm not gonna be caught around the likes of you. Just got out of prison. I'm not getting in trouble myself. Keldrin's like, fine, I'm gonna go catch so many fish all by myself because I'm so cool like that. And he's reeling in fish, and he just gets the tiniest little bite. He's like, come the fuck on. He's reeling it in real slowly. He's like, whatever, like, this sucks. He's caught like only little dinks so far. He's only caught dinks so far. He's reeling it in. He's like, this shit sucks. He sees a little tiny, like, maybe that big of a fish on his line as it comes up to the edge of the boat. And as he's rolling his eyes and turning to grab the net, he sees a flash of blue, and he turns around to see the little fish again, and all he sees are these giant pairs of white pearly teeth. And he's like, what the hell? And next thing he knows, his line is slack, his fish gone. Whatever that was, gone. Brother goes, that was the tide spinner. I just caught the tide spinner. Like, it didn't get into my boat, but I caught that bitch. Like, clearly it was on my line. It got that little fish that was on my line. And, unfortunately, very unfortunately, Keldrin goes back to Arlonge and he's like, Stark, you'll never believe it. Spoiler alert, no one believes it. He's like, I caught the tide spinner. And Stark's like, I have no fucking clue what you're talking about. That's ridiculous. No one can catch the tide spinner. It's way, like, that thing's huge. And he's like, no. No, this is how I caught it. And he goes on to tell this story about how he was wrestling it for an hour, and he got it right up to the boat, and then it flipped him over, and blah, yeah. Stark's like, you're full of a bunch of bullshit. Keldrin's like, well, I'm just telling you exactly how it happened. Hello, welcome to when, Keldrin caught the spin. It was funny the first time we made the joke. It was a little funny the second time. I think the joke has died, which means if we keep pressing the joke, it'll get funny again. Anywho's it. So Keldrin, the greatest fisherman in the whole wide world, he's so talented and sexy and great. He goes, man, I just got caught for stealing again, and I need to make money. Stark, go fishing with me. And Stark says, I'm not gonna be friends with a criminal, go away. Yeah. So Keldrin goes, damn, I guess I'll get on my little tiny boat. We're in Arlonge, by the way. I'm gonna get in my tiny little boat by my tiny little self and go catch some tiny little fish all by myself. So he sets out, and but he cannot catch a break. It is just itty bitty fish after itty bitty fish after itty bitty fish. And he's starting to get tired of it, but like the mining meme, every good gambler stops right before, or something like that. I don't know, before they make it big or something. I don't know. That's what he knows. He goes, I'm gonna keep fishing because I'm gonna catch something crazy here if I just keep going. Is that the definition of insanity? Maybe so. Anywho's it, Keldrin, the greatest fisherman on the whole wide world, face of the earth, face of Tver, even.
Is that what the earth is called? I don't know. Finally goes, oh man, look at this itty bitty fish. Yay long, it's on my line, but you know what, let me reel it in. A fish is a fish. We don't discriminate here. And he sees this flash of blue, and he goes, huh? And then he watches as giant pearly teeth come up almost out of the water and go and eat his tiny little fish right off the hook. But you know what that means? That if the tide spinner put the little fish that was on the hook in its mouth, technically, if A plus B equals C, that means the tide spinner was on his line, and he caught the tide spinner. And he goes, whoa, that was crazy. I gotta go tell my good buddy Stark, who definitely is my good buddy and doesn't hate me. So he sails back, and he goes, Stark, I caught the tide spinner. And Stark probably goes, bitch, then where is it? All I see is 100 itty-bitty, teeny-tiny, wimpy little fish, like the wimpy little man you are, Keldrin. I don't know if that's what he said, but that's what I'm saying he said. And Keldrin goes, no, like, I caught the tide spinner. I wrestled that bitch. We was fighting. It flipped me over in my boat. It was crazy. And then nobody believed him because Keldrin is a notorious liar. But you know what? Maybe so. Maybe he did technically catch the tide spinner. I'm starting to believe him. But yeah, so that's how Keldrin caught the spin.
I am doing the story. I left it for a day and a half because I forgot to and I was really busy. So everyone, this is a story all about how Keldrin's life got turned right upside down. I'm gonna tell you about the Prince of Arlonge. That didn't work, but anyway, story of Keldrin and the spindly but dumptious motherfucker. So Keldrin, as we know, stole a bunch of shit, as usual. Mind you, Keldrin is very sexy. A very important detail to this man, who can change shapes whenever he wants, which to me feels like he can probably change the shape of his wiener, which is a really great skill to have in a fantasy world. Anyway, so he's in trouble and he needs to get money because he stole shit. And I think he needs to pay off debt or fines or bounty or something. And his friend Stark, he asks his friend Stark, you want to go help me fish? And Stark's like, hell no, I don't want anything to do with you. Definitely his friend Stark. And so Keldrin's like, alright, fine, I'll go do it myself. So he takes this super itty teeny tiny boat out to the ocean outside of Arlonge, and he is not doing very well, only catching little tiny fish. Well, a lot of little tiny fish, but just little tiny fish all day, every day. But he has the gambler mindset, the Sigma Aldrich mindset of every gambler quits before they hit big. So Keldrin keeps on going, and he catches another little fish, he's reeling it in, and he sees a flash of blue, which is, I mean, kinda odd. I mean, I know a lot of fish are blue, but how are you gonna see a flash of blue in the blue water? Anyway, I'm not gonna worry about that detail. And pearly white teeth, which does make sense, you can see. Snag his little fish. And Keldrin, being the narcissistic, egotistic little fuckwit he is, says, oh, well, that was the tide spinner. Tide spinner ate my fish. Well, the fish at this point has become my bait. And so Keldrin says, this must mean I caught the tide spinner for the second, maybe at most, it was on my line. And so he finishes his day up, goes back to shore and says, hey Stark, how you doing? Guess what I did? And Stark said, oh, what did you do? I don't believe you. Oh, great and sexy Keldrin. And he tells him that he caught the tide spinner, and Stark's like, how? I don't see it. And Keldrin explains the story I just said, and Stark's like, oh yeah, definitely. I definitely agree. And that's the story of Keldrin catching the tide spinner. Of course.
Okay, this is a story about all about how Keldrin's life got flipped, turned upside down. Something Prince of Arlonge. No, yes, Arlonge. This is about how Keldrin caught the Grimbly Spindly, which means the tide spinner, by the way. So there's some things we know about Keldrin, right? Keldrin can change shape, which means, sexiest man on the planet. He could probably make his dick bigger if he wanted to. Who knows, So we also know that Keldrin loves stealing. He loves stealing, he loves taking things. So of course, this means that he is in a lot of debt. Not so good. He's in trouble, he's in debt. So he goes, I know what I gotta do to pay off this debt. I'm gonna go fishing and catch a bunch of fish and sell them to get out of the debt. Yup. So he goes to his good buddy Stark in Arlonge, and he's like, Stark, buddy, old pal, would you like to come and fish with me? And Stark goes, oh, great and sexy Keldrin, no thank you, I have better things to be doing. He's like, no. And Keldrin's like, fine, I'll do it myself. So he goes out and he takes this rinky-dinky tiny little boat out into the water, and he's fishing. He's out there for a good long while. He's not catching very many big fish. In fact, he's catching almost exclusively little fish. A lot of little fish, which is still a lot of fish, but they're little. You can't sell little fish. And at one point, he's sitting there, and he sees a flash of blue, which, very strange, blue against the blue water, and also white, pearly white teeth, which fish don't have teeth. This is a little bit concerning. And he sees it snap the little fish that he's using as bait to catch the bigger fish. He sees that snap the little fish off of his fishing line. And so Keldrin, in his almighty wisdom, and because he is so smart and definitely not at all egotistical or selfish, goes, yes, clearly that was A, the tide spinner, and B, this means that because it grabbed the fish that was on my line, for a hot second, the tide spinner was on my line. And this means that I have, of course, caught the tide spinner. I see no problems with this line of reasoning. So, he takes his little self back to, he packs his stuff up, he takes his little boat back into town, and he goes back to talk to Stark. And he's like, Stark, I caught the tide spinner. It was on my line. And Stark goes, well then where is it? I don't see it here. And Keldrin's like, I caught it. Keldrin goes, I got away. It was this big, And Stark goes, yes, almighty sexy Keldrin, I believe you. You would never lie to me. Things that you do not do, lying. Keldrin would never lie. And so Keldrin believed in his heart and soul that he caught the tide spinner that day. And that's the story about how Keldrin caught the tide spinner, which he definitely did for an extended period of time.
Hi, Thomas. You don't need the stuff. I'm just bored. You don't need the hat or anything. This is a story about Keldrin, obviously. And the young Prince of Arlonge, I believe it was. Very, very funny. It was also how he caught the wacky, wavy, inflatable arm flailing tube fish. Keldrin can give himself a massive hog. And he's also in debt because he steals. To the story. He decides he's going to pay off debt by fishing, which at an average salary of about $44K a year, fisherman is not exactly this place I would advise to pay off debt, but it's not bad. That's pretty good. So he goes to Stark, and he says, hey, Stark, would you like to join me in fishing? And Stark says,
Oh, great and sexy Keldrin. No, thank you, but I have better things to do.
I think that's the exact quote. And then Keldrin goes, okay, and goes off by himself in a rinky-dinky little boat. And in said boat, he catches jack shit, bunch of small stuff. So not jack shit, but a bunch of tiny fish, ain't worth much. And then he sees blue in the blue water and goes, "That's weird. That's odd." And then he also sees white teeth. Fish don't have teeth. Anyways, so he's like, "Oh my god, it's the tide spinner," and he's using like a decent sized fish to catch other fish, right? I use a fish to catch fish, and the tide spinner, takes takes the fish, and like grabs on the line, pulls it a little bit, and then gets away. So Keldrin, being the almighty gatekeep gaslight girl boss, but just to himself, goes, "Holy shit, I caught the fucking tide spinner, dude. That's fucking insane. I caught the tide spinner, dude." And even though it's gone, but he caught it for a little bit, even though it was never in his boat. And Keldrin, total big brain here, goes to ego trip to Stark. And Stark tells Keldrin,
"Oh, great and sexy Keldrin, you would never lie to me. I believe you."
And Keldrin lies to himself for the rest of his life that he caught the tide spinner, when in fact he didn't. I think that was all of it. I don't know. There was just so much like emotional whiplash and mental whiplash in that I don't know. There's just a lot going on. As a biologist, I have several comments to make. This first one has nothing to do with biology. I just wanted to note this. He's in debt because he steals. I need more on that. I'm curious. Like, is he in debt because he keeps getting caught stealing? Or is he just so bad at stealing that he's leaving money in people's pockets and at their houses? I need more context on that. Also, the flash of blue in the blue sea was odd. No, it's not. Literally every fish is blue. That's just how it is. Also, fish don't have teeth. Yes, the fuck they do.
Okay, I'm doing this standing up. First things first, I have to get the required props, I was told. Some nice shades, and I gotta get... Okay, so, this is a story all about Keldrin, and it's a story about how Keldrin, he went and he caught the wacky inflatable arm tube fish, and he also had a massive fucking cock, fucking huge. But that's like not actually relevant to this story. That's like not what the story's about. So this story, Keldrin was in debt. He was in severe, severe debt, and he decided that he was going to be a fisherman to repay his debt. But being a fisherman, making only about $44K a year, that's not the most advisable position, really. There's something to do to pay off your debt. But anyway, he decided to be a fisherman to pay off his debt, and so he he went to the docks and he met this guy named Stark, and he's like, "Hey, yo, Stark, you want to help me go fishing to pay off my debt?" And Stark went, "Oh, Keldrin, pretty prince of Arlonge, sweet and sexy Keldrin. No, fuck you. I don't want to help you." And so Keldrin went, "Okay, I'm gonna go out anyway." And so Keldrin went out on like a rinky-dink little raft, like a swan boat kind of thing, but like not actually a swan boat, just like a rinky-dink little piece of shit boat. And so he was fishing, and he caught pretty much nothing, just a bunch of bullshit, tiny little fuckers, no real fish. He wasn't a real fisherman. But then he threw his line in the water, and he saw he saw blue, something that was blue in the blue ocean. And he saw white, he saw teeth, but fish don't have teeth. So therefore it had to be something else. And he went, oh my god, it's the fucking tide spinner. It's the fucking tide spinner, it is. And so he tried, and because he was using a pretty good sized fish to catch that fish, because you use fish to catch fish. When you use fish to catch fish, you're catching fish. But then he used the pretty big fish to catch the tide spinner, and it was on his line for a little bit, and he had it, and then it broke off and went away. It's a fucking massive, giant, fucking sea serpent. And so then Keldrin said, "Man, I got the fucking tide spinner. I fucking caught him." And so then Keldrin continued to lie to himself for the rest of his life, saying that he caught the tide spinner when he in fact did not catch the tide spinner, because he never reeled it in, and it was never on his boat. He only had it for a tiny bit of time before it broke the fucking line. So then he went back to shore and he said, "Stark, listen, I caught the fucking tide spinner." And Stark said, "Oh, Keldrin, Prince of Arlonge, sexy, beautiful Keldrin. You'd never lie to me. So therefore, I believe you. You caught the tide spinner." And after that, Keldrin went through a bunch of stuff that caused a bunch of physical and emotional whiplash. And to this day, he still lies to himself that he caught the tide spinner. So, yeah. Also, spooky. That's all, chat.
Okay, I didn't do this for a week and a half, so I'm gonna give you something extra, because I'm bored. So do what you want with this. Take 2 for audio purposes. Reminder, this was entirely improv. I am copying it word for word, just trying to fix the audio. So, yeah. Now this is a story all about how my life got flipped, turned upside down, and I'd like to take a minute to just sit right there and tell you how I became a prince of a place called Tavere. In West Arlonge, not born but raised on the ocean, is where I spent most of my days, chilling out, maxing, relaxing, all cool, and fishing some tide spinner outside of the bay. When a couple of guys who were up to no good started making trouble in my neighborhood. I got in one little fight and my boss got scared, and I said I'm moving with the log cutters to a place called Permanent Square. I looked for an out, and when he came near, his name was Yogi, and he smiled in the mirror. If anything, I could say that this guy was rare, but I thought, nah, forget it. Yo, Yogi, to Tavere. I pulled up to the castle at about 7 or 8, and I yelled to the captain, "Yo, Xander, smell you later." Looked at my kingdom, I was finally there to sit on my throne as the Prince of Tavere.
Me. Fish station. What are we getting for dinner? Fish, of course. Uh-oh, there was a fish inside of our fish. We black out and wake up in a fish. We're surrounded by fish. Fish, fish. You know what that means. Fish!